Hey everybody, it's Sarcasm the Sickness, and today I'm actually going to try to do a little tutorial for you guys. I plan on making this kind of a general, introductory, this is basically how I do things when I'm drawing kind of tutorial, I guess, so I don't know, it's probably not going to be very good, but, uh, why not? I need to actually start this, so, we have to start somewhere, so, I don't know, let's just dive right in. Today I'm going to show you how to start by, or today what I'm going to do, I guess, is just draw and just talk about my process as I'm doing it, and at least give everybody kind of a base of like, oh, okay, well, this is how she does things. Alright, now today, I want to work with a base. I want to work with, not a base, like a stock photo, a pose reference, I guess. So, normally what I would do is I would go onto deviantart.com and I would go into like the resources and stock category and find something in there that I really like. But today, because I don't want to, use somebody else's photography or anything, I'm going to use a picture of myself that I took from my phone. So it's going to be whatever. It's just going to be whatever quality. So yeah, here's me. Oh, whoops. Come here. Okay, there we go. I need to get this all set up. And what I'm doing is I'm using the transform tool. And instead of going, like, there's two ways to do it. You can hit like Control T, or you can go all the way over to select and then go to transform, and it'll select whatever is on the layer, whatever. I've already done it, so it's fine. Um, Now, when I'm working with a base or like a reference or whatever, like I always trace over it. I don't ever like start drawing the final product from this state because I'm only using the photo here as a reference for the pose. That's all I want from it. Is all I want is this pose. So I'm gonna make it a little less opaque so that I can more easily see my pencil strokes over top. And I usually like to work in red or some kind of bright, vibrant color when I am like tracing over things or doing like initial sketches and things like that. Actually, my head is not that big. That's hair there. You gotta compensate for things. You can't just trace like, oh, well, the shape is right over here, so this is her head, and no, that's not how that works. You have to kind of like, not every base or reference is going to be perfect. In fact, unless you're trying to draw that model, it's very rarely ever going to be exactly what you're looking for. So you kind of have to make things up sometimes. And especially, I'm going to be doing a lot of making up here because I plan on drawing one of my alien creatures, and obviously I am not an alien. Or maybe not so obviously, but I am not an alien, so, and I certainly don't look anything like the character I'm going to draw over top of myself. So you'll see that in a bit. Here I gotta keep talking about stuff while I'm doing this. But yeah, you're seeing here that I'm using my pen tool. I'm in the brushes here, and I'm using my pen tool because it's just a very simple basic tool that'll work just fine for this sketching stage. In fact, that's usually what I do for or use for like most of my drawing just in general. Alright, and I like to put a line for the center of the face so that I know where it is when I eventually get rid of the base entirely. And this is where my eye level is. I might just draw where the eyes are. I am not going to use these size eyes. In fact, I'll probably just draw my eyebrows real quick. But I'm not going to use these size eyes because I, well, my alien, like I said, is very different from myself. So here's my nose or whatever. And here's like cheeks and whatever. Alright. Now I can get rid of the bottom base here, and this is basically what I want. Although I do want to get a little bit more detail from my neck and shoulder area. I kind of forgot to do that. But hey, that's the beauty of it. I haven't trashed the base layer yet, so I can still go back and look at it, you know? There we go. This is looking a little bit better then. And obviously, this is the preliminary base sketch, so nothing has to look perfect. Nothing has to look perfect yet. So that's why I love to have a base sketch, because it gives me a chance to make all of my mistakes. All right, there we go. That's a little bit better then. And from here, and obviously, what I'm doing over here on the side is it's something I forgot to mention, so I guess maybe it's not obvious to everybody, but you have the option of having layers. So whenever you open up Fire Alpaca, it will, or any like more powerful drawing tool than MS Paint, I suppose. At least most will give you an option to have layers. So it starts you off with one layer, and it's got this checkered pattern because it's transparent and you can't see, like there would be nothing there if I would have just saved this image. But then if you take like the color white, then and color onto it, then there's something. White is actually something. It's actually a an existing thing on this canvas. I can get rid of it because I don't want that. Um, so my base is on a second layer because I don't know. I feel comfortable having a bottom layer that is transparent. It's not necessary, but for some reason I have that kind of OCD. It just bothers me to not have one. Um, so when I pasted my picture into here, it opened it up on a second layer automatically in FirePacket. It'll do that for you, which gives me the freedom to be able to. Ooh, I'm not on the right layer, so you have to have the right layer selected too. But yeah, when one thing is on a layer, you can just move it around freely without affecting the other layers on top of it, and I can edit just this layer and not affect the things on top of it, which is why layers are great because it's like having a bunch of pieces of paper laying on top of each other. So if you erase something on the top piece of paper, the third paper down will not be affected. And the second paper down won't be affected. Only the top piece of paper will be affected. So that's what layers do for you, basically. So my sketch here is on the second layer because I do not want it to be like actually on my base image because I want to be able to just look at this. I don't want to look at this anymore. I just want to look at this. Now, for my next step, what I usually do from here is start working on more of what I want the final product to actually be. And I like to make this a little bit more a little bit more transparent, just so that I can really focus on the thing or the color, the layer I'm actually working on here, basically. Um, so I'm just going to trace the face all over again, and this character is actually bald, or I guess he kind of has a shaved head. So maybe when I get to the coloring part, I will work on trying to give him a little peach fuzz kind of look. Um, now that I'm on this step, I can start working on what I really want him to look like. So he's gonna have like these anime-ish eyes, I suppose. He's still kind of looking out the window like I was when I took this picture. Um, he doesn't have a humanoid nose, so it kind of goes like this. And this is the beauty of working with a base, is that like you can take exactly what you want from it and you don't have to take the rest of it. So I can take just the pose and not worry about like, oh, well, this model has hair and my character doesn't have hair. Well, who cares? You don't have to draw the hair, you know? That's why we trace on top of it, and that's why we get rid of the image entirely, or not get rid of, but like make it invisible so that we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about trying to match a model with the character or subject you were trying to draw. There's no reason for that. Because you're an artist and you can be imaginative, you can be creative. Alright, and he's got kind of tired eyes, so they're going to be a little sunken in. I'm not sure if I like these antennae. In fact, I am going to make another layer on top of this layer so that I can focus on working on the antennae without affecting the rest of the base sketch here, or the rest of the secondary sketch. I suppose this is a secondary sketch. So now I can erase parts of the antennae that I don't like without affecting the rest of it. See, the antennae is on a separate layer, and then there's the rest of the sketch that I've got going on right now. So layers are very useful, and when I first started out using like more powerful drawing programs and stuff, I was very not used to. Hang on, I'm sorry, I just totally messed up my the size of my program here. But when I first started working with like things other than like MS Paint and stuff, I didn't understand the point of layers. But as I've started like really experimenting with it and really like getting more serious into art, I realized that they are incredibly important. In fact, they're one of the most important things you can really have in a drawing program besides like different pen tools or whatever. So, so it's wise to start getting used to layers if you haven't already. Now I'm going to make another layer so that I can start sketching the clothing on top, so that again, if I do something that I don't like, I can go back and edit it without editing my my secondary, well, like my sketch of his body, basically. Alright then, you see that I made another layer and I went ahead and used used a different color so that I could tell some more details of the outfit here. And sometimes that's I do that just to make sure that I can tell the difference between what I'm doing here, because sometimes it gets a little bit muddy, it gets a little messy, and it's nice to be able to tell what I mean, I suppose. Now what I should have done honestly is put all of these into a folder so that I can edit them, or I can edit them separately, but I can also mess around with them at the same time if I prefer to. Now what I'm doing here is I'm putting all of the sketches, oh, I'll put the bottom one too, might as well. Oh, oh, come here. Okay. Now I've put all of these into a folder, which is also down here by your layers options and stuff. This is the new layer one, this is the folder. And putting them all into the same folder means that I can now edit them all together. So if I've got the folder selected, just the folder, not anything inside the folder, I can move all of these layers together. Whereas before, I would move just the layer that's selected. When I've got my folder selected, I can move all of them at the same time. So that's really helpful for your for when you have like multiple objects, or if you have like just having the other sketch here, like I like to do that so that I can make them all the same transparency at the same time. So I'm trying to make them a little bit more transparent so that I can start working on the, I guess, the beginnings of the final drawing. Now, I've started working with, it depends. Sometimes I like to work with like hard lines and like very solid lines, but sometimes I like to work with softer, kind of more sketchy looking lines. And for this image, since it's kind of calm and maybe not peaceful, but well, I guess it's peaceful. Since it's kind of like a relaxing image, I want to work with some more relaxed looking lines. So instead of having it full 100% opacity, I am making it a little bit less, 68%, so that when I draw something like here, let me go to a separate section here. If I draw something, it's not completely dark. And if I draw over it again, you can see where it's a little bit darker where I had originally drawn, and it's still the same lightness where I didn't draw before. So it takes several strokes to get it up to its full darkness, and I like doing that for things like this so that I can kind of give it a softer, sketchier quality, I suppose. And like you've seen, I don't do that for everything, and it's nice to have different options. It's nice to keep your mind open and think sometimes, you know what, this image doesn't really require those hard, you know, very bold lines. Maybe this one is a bit of a softer tone and, can stand to be a little bit looser, a little bit more free. And that's the kind of feeling I've got for this image here. Now, most of the time for like commissions, I will do the hard, dark borders. In fact, most of the time it'll be, the specific black border to be kind of that anime style. But for my personal work, for a lot of my personal work, honestly, I like to experiment and either go like totally lineless or do it sketchy like this because I personally am more satisfied with these sketchier looking images. It just makes me happy for some reason to have it so loose and so free, I suppose. Now, as I'm working on the face here, I'm only going to do the things that are fleshy, I suppose. I'm not going to do his eyes because I want to do those in a different color and I want to do them on a different layer so that I can edit them if I need to. But all the other little details I'm going to do with this color on this layer. Except for maybe the nose, I might work on the... Actually, I'll do the nose and the mouth on a separate layer. Now I'm going to work on the fingers a little bit here, but as you saw when I was doing my clothing sketch, I've got gloves on his fingers now, so I don't want to do the rest of his hand right now on this layer or in this color, because that glove is a separate color. So I'm gonna I've changed my color to a black, or a really dark gray, I suppose. And I'm gonna work on the glove a little bit because it's a bit darker than his actual skin, and I want that to be like I want that to be seen, you know? I want it to be seen that that is not part of his actual flesh. And it would be obvious to see anyway just looking at the image, but it's nice to have a separate color to just kind of like drive that fact home. Because it looks a little bit silly if you start drawing in like a flesh tone, whereas, like this, my alien species, their flesh is blue, so blue would be a flesh tone for them. And then, and draw the clothing in that flesh tone too, that would be pretty silly. Now, when I was originally sketching, I totally forgot that my alien species does not have pinkies. So over here, where there was two knuckles, there has to be one because he only has 3 fingers. So having the fourth knuckle is totally pointless. There we go. And that's also one of those wonderful things about having a base sketch is that you haven't really started on the final image yet, so it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to either go back and change them, or not even bother going back because you know what you did wrong and you know how to fix it right then and there.